Hello everyone and welcome back to Mach 1 Mindset. Today we're diving into AP European History 2.2 Luther and the Protestant Reformation. Now before we get started, please make sure you like, subscribe, and of course comment down below if you have any questions. Let's get into it. Today we are breaking down one of the most important turning points in European history, the Protestant Reformation. This movement reshaped religion, politics, and society across Europe. By the early 1500s, many Europeans were frustrated with the Catholic Church. The Church held enormous power, but critics pointed to corruption and hypocrisy. Some clergy violated vows, held multiple offices at once, and neglected their duties. Another major controversy involved indulgences. These were documents sold by the church that supposedly reduced time in purgatory. Critics argued that this practice made salvation look like something that could be bought. Humanist scholars such as Erasmus had already criticized church abuses and called for reform. However, they hoped to improve the church, not to break away from it. Martin Luther was a German monk and theology professor who took the question of salvation very seriously. He struggled with the idea that humans could earn salvation through good works. In 1517, while teaching in Wittenberg, Luther wrote the 95 Theses, criticizing the sale of indulgences. Posting academic arguments on church doors was normal practice. Luther intended to spark debate, not to start a revolution. However, the printing press spread his ideas rapidly across Europe. By the next year, his criticisms had turned into a major controversy. As Luther's thinking developed, he argued salvation comes by faith alone. Scripture alone is the authority, and every believer can access God directly. These ideas challenged the authority of the Pope and the church hierarchy. In 1521, Luther was summoned before the imperial assembly known as the Diet of Worms. He was ordered to recant his writings. He refused. According to tradition, he declared that he could not go against his conscience. As a result, he was excommunicated and declared an outlaw by the Edict of Worms. He found protection in Wartburg Castle, where he translated New Testament into German. This made scripture accessible to ordinary people, strengthening the idea that faith should be personal and direct. The Protestant Reformation was a 16th century religious movement that challenged the authority of the Catholic Church. It led to the creation of the Protestant denominations and triggered major religious, political, and social challenges across Europe. Luther's ideas inspired reform movements across Europe. John Calvin developed Calvinism. He taught Protestant with the belief that God had already chosen who would be saved. Ulrich Zwingli led reforms in Switzerland, emphasizing the Bible as a sole authority. The Anabaptists rejected infant baptism and opposed government involvement in religion, which led to their persecution. Luther's ideas also influenced the German Peasants' War. However, he condemned the revolt when it turned violent. Protestant reformers rejected Catholic hierarchy and emphasized faith alone for salvation, Scripture as the only authority, and direct relationship between believers and God. These ideas made religion more personal and reduced reliance on clergy. Catholicism versus Lutheranism. Both traditions shared the belief in Jesus Christ and the Bible. However, key differences soon emerged. Catholics affirmed papal authority. Lutherans rejected it. Catholics emphasized faith and good works. Lutherans emphasized faith alone. Catholics relied on clergy as intermediaries. Protestants promoted the priesthood of all believers. Catholic churches were ornate. Protestant churches tended to be more simple. The Reformation fractured religious unity in Europe. It weakened papal authority, strengthened emerging nation-states, and encouraged literacy through vernacular Bibles. It also sparked religious conflicts that shaped European politics for centuries. Most importantly, it forced people to reconsider authority, faith, and individual responsibility. The Protestant Reformation did not begin as a rebellion. It began as a debate about corruption, authority, and salvation. But once Luther's ideas spread, Europe could not return to religious unity.